अनम्यूट ही था, चुपचाप रहेगा। फाइव 37 देखो जी, 537, 537 कानू बड़ोदा। कैसा है? କାରଣ ଫଟୋଟା ସ୍ଟିଲ୍ ହେଇକି କାହିଁକି ଅଛି? ବୋଧେ ରହିଯାଇଛି ନାଇଁ କି? ଲାଇଭ୍ କରିନି ଭଲ।
हेलो हेलो
हेलो
लक्ष्मण सर,
तो का फोटो मधुर रहेगा देखो।
हेलो लक्ष्मण सर,
हेलो 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 हेलो, हाँ बोलिए।
मैम इज माय वॉइस ऑडिबल टू यू?
ओके।
हाँ
मैडम मेरी आवाज आ रही है आपको?
आपका आवाज मुझे सुनाई दे रहा है विशाल जी।
ओके ओके ओके, नहीं वो अभी लक्ष्मण सर ने कॉल किया था कि एक बार ऑडियो टेस्टिंग कर लेंगे, इसलिए मैंने आपको पूछा।
हाँ नहीं तो मगर बहुत स्लोली सुनाई दिया जा रहा है।
स्लो?
बहुत स्लो सुनाई दिया जा रहा है।
ना ना ठीक अच्छी तो
आपका वॉइस मुझे बहुत स्लो सुनाई दिया जा रहा है।
कानटा ठीक नहीं पचारନ୍ତୁ କୁହନ୍ତୁ बहुत जोर ଅଛି। इयरफोन ठीक नहीं हो। हां लक्ष्मण सर कुछ बड़ेगा। हेलो विशाल जी।
हाँ सर।
हां कैन वी स्टार्ट द मीटिंग?
Yes, yes, you can start, sir, and the meeting is live on YouTube also.
ओके Not audible. मोबाइल हाँ लैपटॉप पे साउंड बढ़ेगा मोबाइल दे करना मोबाइल दे बढ़िया हो हमको ठीक सुबुची लगे आरंभ कर दो और कान फटला वाला ये लगला मो अधार रखी can't hear बोली को ओपन से मैंने आरंभ करना थी can't hear को अच्छा कोई दिन को अनम्यूट करियो समस्त अंदर करथिबे ना भूली जाइए काले काले भूली जाइए कोई दिन कने लेखुचंती तो नॉट ऑडिबल ऑडिबल बोली कहनी समस्त को अनम्यूट करंतु बोली कहनी अनम्यूट करंतु समस्त जी जी अरे हटाओ आरंभ करते हमें सुविधा पे सुविधा 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 क्या फोर्टीन से माने मुझे जान कौन
Voice is not audible, sir.
ठीक पता कहना भूलभाल कर दे कुछ जा जाई जा मो अच्छी मोटे किसी ने जेतो आके कही है
Namaste everyone. A very good afternoon to all present here. I am Durga Prasad Panda, faculty member, Department of Anthropology. On the behalf of Fiji Department of Sociology and Department of Anthropology, Bikram Dev Autonomous College, I feel extremely honored and privileged to extend you all a very warm welcome to the national webinar on impact of COVID-19 on tribal livelihood. Today we are having with us our beloved principal and esteemed delegates, namely our principal Dr. Gopal Haldar sir, and a leading anthropologist Professor Premanand Panda, Dr. Nilakant Panigrahi, Dr. Devendra Kumar Vishwal, Dr. V.K. Srinivas, and a leading sociologist Dr. Aditya Kesari Misra, and Dr. Sagarika Misra, head of the Department of Sociology and the convener of this seminar, teaching and non-teaching staffs of our college, and a very energetic participants, my co-compass, Tamasa Sorangi and Rajni Padal. Friends, before we start this academic event, I request you all the members present here to kindly switch off their mic and video buttons in order to avoid the disturbances. I request all the participants to put their queries, doubts in the chat box, and I will bring them up together at the end of all the presentations. And one more request, at the end of the today's deliberation, a feedback form link will be shared in the chat box. Participants are requested to kindly fill up the uh, form and submit the feedback. This will help us to issue participants e-certificate. Now I would like to request my colleague Tamasa to continue the session. Thank you.
Thank you, Durga sir. Now I request Dr. Sagarika Misra, Head of the Department and Convener of the National Webinar, to deliver welcome address and introduction to the theme of National Webinar. Dr. Sagarika Misra, Madam. Madam, please.
Thank you, Tamasa. Thank you, Tamasa. A very good afternoon to all present in the webinar. Respected Dr. Gopal Haldar, our principal sir, my revered teachers or gurus, Professor Premanand Panda sir, former director of SCST RTI Institute, Dr. Nilakantha Panigrahi sir, Associate Professor GG University, Bilaspur, my elder brothers and old colleagues from Central University of Orissa, Koraput, Dr. Devendra Kumar Bishwal, Assistant Professor, Central University of Jharkhand, Ranchi, and BK Srinivas, Assistant Professor, Central University of Orissa, Koraput, my personal co-traveler, Dr. Aditya Kesari Misra, Assistant Professor, Central University of Orissa, Koraput, teaching and non-teaching staff of Vikram Dev Autonomous College, all respected participants. At the outset, on the behalf of the PG Department of Sociology and Department of Anthropology of Vikram Dev Autonomous College, Jaipur, and on my own behalf, I extend a warm welcome to all the delegates and participants present in this webinar. As we all know, as India is home to 104 million tribal people, they are concentrated in 10 different states, spread across 705 tribes. They account for 8.6% of country's population. Tribal people rank the lowest in the health, educational, economy, and other societal indicators. According to the policy brief titled Tribal Health in India, Bridging the Gap and Roadmap for Future, and published jointly by the Ministry of Health and Welfare and Ministry of Tribal Affairs, Government of India in 2018, the tribals in India are facing a triple burden of diseases like the malnutrition, nutritional deficiency, and communicable diseases such as malaria, tuberculosis, which are widespread among many tribal communities. As we continue to deal with the present health crisis of COVID-19, we certainly cannot ignore the impact of corona, which is severely affecting the life and livelihood of tribal communities. Apart from that, tribal and other forest dwelling communities are inevitably getting affected by COVID-19 and the process of lockdown. The last 4 months of lockdown period, especially from March to July, is considered as the period for the production and collection of minor forest products and non-timber forest produce. This constitutes a vital annual income among various tribal communities. The nationwide lockdown that has started on March 25th has been extended from time to time by the government of India, which has also been adversely affecting the very livelihood of the tribal community. The planned lockdown has made a drastic impact on the large tribal population across the nation. It has caused a loss of livelihoods, physical hardships, lack of food and shelter, and economic distress. There are reports from across the country that severe hardships are being faced by the tribal communities in terms of the absence of wage labor and shortage or lack of supply of rations. To put it in a single line, there is a heavy loss of income among these poor tribals. The major issues, the challenges, and the problems faced by the tribal communities are mainly the first, the food insecurity, loss of livelihood and unemployment. Second, the loss of livelihood from minor
ল্যাপটপে সমস্যা আছে हाँ
Hello. Okay. Sorry for the interruption. There is some kind of technical error. So in this regard, the present webinar finds its importance. The webinar intends to explore the problems and possibilities of tribal livelihood because of COVID-19. I am sure the deliberation by our esteemed delegates will add meaning to our initiatives. Our participants will be extremely beneficial after listening to our delegates. I am thankful to my principal for his constant support and encouragement in organizing this webinar. With this, I once again welcome our esteemed delegates, Professor Premanand sir, Dr. Nirakantha sir, Dr. Devendra sir, Dr. Aditya sir, and Dr. Srinivas sir to this national seminar. Thank you so much.
ফটোটাকে বড় করে দিবি
Thank you, madam. Now it's the time to listen from the source of our strength, our leader, our principal, sir. Let's now welcome the man who doesn't need any introduction and known among all of us for his wisdom and his knowledge, who motivated people by being a living example, by sharing his expertise and knowledge, who working hard even in the pandemic period for the upliftment of the institution. Now,
কই দেখি today start
Yes, sir. Yes, sir.
okay good afternoon all respected Professor Premananda Panda, former director SCST RTI Institute, Dr. Nilakantha Panigrahi, Associate Professor, GG University, Bilaspur. Dr. Devendra Kumar Biswal, Assistant Professor, Central University of Jharkhand, Ranchi. Dr. Aditya Kumar Misra and Dr. B.K. Srinivas of Central University, Koraput. Convener of this national webinar, Dr. Sagarika Misra, participant teachers, scholars, and my dear students. On behalf of Bikramdev Autonomous College, Jaipur, and on my behalf, I welcome you all and our all delegates to this national webinar on impact of COVID-19 on tribal livelihood. I convey my deep sense of gratitude to them for their consent to deliver their address in this national webinar. I am so happy that the PG Department of Sociology and Department of Anthropology, the youngest department of this college, are organizing this national webinar. I congratulate Dr. Sagarika and her team. Friends, the COVID-19 pandemic has severely affected the whole world and all sections of our society. This pandemic is far more than a health crisis. It is affecting the societies and economies at their core. While the impact of pandemic varies from country to country, it will most likely increase poverty and inequalities at a global scale. As you all know, COVID-19 originated from Wuhan of China and spread throughout the world. It has reached the most tribal dominated villages across the nation and states. The state of Odisha is not an exception. It has spread to the tribal dominated districts of the state of Odisha, such as Kalahandi, Koraput, Malkangiri, Keonjhar. In this regard, the traditional livelihood pattern among tribals, who is based on agriculture, forest products, and daily wage labor, etc., is in severe crisis due to lockdown and shutdown. The tribal community are facing multitude problems pertaining to their livelihood system, particularly shutdowns of weekly markets, depriving them from selling their agricultural and forest products. In this context, the 2 days theme of the webinar, Impact of COVID-19 on Tribal Livelihood, will certainly give insight into the problems the tribal communities faced and their impact on their livelihood. I am sure the insightful deliberations by our esteemed delegates will be very useful for our teachers and students. I wish the webinar a grand success. Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir, for your inaugural speech. Now we are having with us an eminent anthropologist, Professor Premananda Panda. Professor Premananda Panda is the former director, Srishti, Government of Odisha, Member Secretary, ATLC, Government of Odisha. He has taught anthropology and management at postgraduate and MTI level exceeds for more than 3 decades and about 2 decades respectively. Professor Professor Ponda joined as faculty in Sambalpur University since 1981 and got his PhD in 1982. Professor Panda has visited foreign countries like United States of America, the Philippines, South Africa Republic, England and Singapore on academic assignments and here uh, skill share programs. Professor Panda is associated as principal investigator in a few major research projects and collaborated in one global project of genome studies. Along with these rich academic credentials, he has also hold various reputed administrative positions like the Vice President, National Level NGO Executive Member, Human Development New Delhi, former Director SDF School of Management, and so many. Recently, he acted as an expert in selection committee for IFS candidates organized by UPSC. With due respect and honor, now I request Professor Panda to deliver his lecture on impact of COVID-19 on tribal livelihood. Professor Premananda sir, please. Okay. Professor Ashinanda, Professor Premananda sir.
नेक्स्ट स्पीकर सार अच्छा कि नेक्स्ट स्पीकर किए कौट अच्छा
Thank you, sir. We are also having with us a leading anthropologist, Dr. Nilakant Panigirai. Dr. Nilakant Panigirai is the Associate Professor and Head of the Department of Anthropology and Tribal Development at Guru Ghasidas Vishwavidyalaya, Bilaspur, Chhattisgarh. He is a renowned anthropologist worked with the NIDA bilateral development projects of drinking water, health sanitation, watershed development, livestock development from 1988. Since 1997, he was working at an ICSSR Institute of Center for Navakrishna Chaudhary Development Studies, Bhubaneswar, as an eminent anthropologist in different research activities on tribal livelihood, disaster management, ethnicity, progressive policy impact, health, etc. He has also published many papers in national and international journals. He is also the author of many books like Tribal Economy, Culture and Society in India, Tribal Livelihood, in changing perspective, tribal and the Indian constitution, functioning fifth schedule in the state of Orissa. So, and Dr. Panigirai has also contributed many research projects under ICSSR and MHRD, Government of India. With all these academic credentials, I would like to request Dr. Panigirai to deliver his topic on impact of COVID-19 on forest-based livelihood and tribal people. Sir, please.
Thank you. At the outset, I must thank to the principal, Professor Haldar, Haldarji, BD Autonomous College, Koraput, and the team of expertise constantly working behind this program to make it successful. I must thank to my co-speakers who will be coming gradually and to the viewers including which researchers, students, development implementers, policymakers. So as a student of anthropology, we look tribal society and their livelihood from a different perspective. So at the outset, I must tell that my presentation will cover a brief conceptual clarity on livelihood and COVID-19 then the tribal communities and their livelihood resources. Then I will link to the tribal livelihood with forest resources particularly. Then I will talk the impact of COVID-19 on the forest-based livelihood of the tribals in general, very specifically what has happened due to the COVID situation to tribal livelihood. Then coming to the livelihood concept. The concept has changed since the beginning of the 21st century. The interpretation of livelihood has changed. It is also implemented in tribal societies, like the many international national agencies. They have defined what the livelihood concept should be. Like one or two, I will just refresh. The Stockholm Environmental Institute, they have defined that it must be supportive of natural and economic system of the people, which will safeguard the resource and opportunities. Then coming to the second one, the development alternative groups that define that it is a means of living or of supporting life and meeting individual and community needs. Coming to the DFID, the latest development player, including the UNDP also, they have highlighted the capabilities, assets, and activities required for a means of sustainable living. Then coming to, as I have already told the student of anthropology, we have a different approach to look tribal society and their livelihood resources. So tribal society look it as a system or a group originated within a particular region and are more or less uninfluenced by external factors. It is homegrown in response to the local condition and local needs. Coming to the international definition, international agencies, how they have defined tribal society. They live, tribal societies basically live in geographically distinct ancestral territories. If you look to the Gondwana region or the Hills or the Juangas of Odisha or the Andaman Islanders, they maintain distinct social, economic and political institutions, then assimilating fully into the national society. Like the non-tribal society, we have to a great extent merged with the dominant national societies. They maintain the identity themselves as an indigenous or tribal group. Their worldview, skill, and capabilities are basically determined by local natural ecology, which determines their entire life process. The social institutions the tribal societies has based on certain operational norms, based on conventional knowledge and customary rules, like our society is guided by the formal rules, IPC, CRPC, like these formal rules. Coming to the tribe and tribal situation in India, basically, as per the 2011 census of India, it talks that around 104 millions of population are considered the tribal people, which bears around 8.6% of the total population of India, and they are basically confined to central Indian states and northeast states. Basically, they are inhabiting in these two major dominant regions. Among the major tribal communities, we see that there are many large communities like Kondha, Gond, Santal, Sauda, Bhuya, then Koya, Oram, Bhil, Baiga, like this, Munda. And there are also small tribal communities who are also like Bonda, Juang in Odisha, then Andaman Islanders, five tribal communities are very small in number. So there are few tribal communities. Though suppose for example, Santals started from Santal Pradana, but they have gone to beyond the Santal Pradana, means they are also found in Assam, Odisha, West Bengal. So some communities they have gone beyond the boundaries of the state boundaries. And looking to the development indexes of the tribal communities, Government of India has declared 75 tribal groups as particularly vulnerable tribal. I'm giving the little background, then I'll come to the main focus of these presentations. Then we see tribal communities are not one and same. They're racially, they have a different, they belong to different groups like the Proto-Australoid, Mongoloid, Negrito characteristic they have. Linguistic divisions also they have. Some of them belong to Mundari group, some of them belong to South Dravidian group, and they belong to Dravidian language family also. And basically they are operating, they are working, they are functioning at an undocumented script level. Very few tribal communities have scripts. Like Alchiki is a script for the Santal communities of India. Like economy and sources of livelihood, if you look to then the collection of NTFP, shifting cultivation, wage labor, marginal plainland cultivation, then migration, all these are the major economic resources of the tribal communities. Come to COVID-19. We know that we are experiencing this, and we all know the meaning, concept, and intensity of this COVID-19. It started a worldwide phenomenon, started from Wuhan city of China, as Principal Sir has already told. Then the virus is called as the novel coronavirus, SARS-CoV-2, which was encountered in the last part of 2019 and spread gradually, and till now it is beyond the control of the state and the humanity and the human population. And this is not the new ever the human society's experience. Early to this is high magnitude definitely, but early to this also we have experienced the H1N1 influenza in 2009, Ebola virus disease, Zika virus, and recent going on the COVID-1. If you look to the state role in managing the situation, the effect of the situation of COVID-19, in principle, the strategies adopted by the state includes both medical as well as behavioral aspects of the disease. In practice, the state aims to change the awareness, attitude, and practices of the people. The major strategy the state has adopted: implementation of lockdown, shutdown, use of mask, hand cleaning, popularizing limited movement of the people to outside, motivating people to confine at home, closing down religious and cultural centers, restricting gatherings made due to public meetings, festivities, death and birth ceremonies, pressurizing people for home isolation, confinement at quarantine, bringing back the migrants from distant places. These are all we are experiencing throughout the country, throughout the world we are experiencing. So this situation is still continuing since March 2020, and we are experiencing this also. Come to main focus of this presentation. There is the major sources of livelihood for the tribals. I was working in Koraput district. For 4 years I have worked there from 93 to 97. And Koraput, is one of the core region of tribal inhabitation. Koraput is housing, undivided Koraput, I am talking, housing around 42 tribal communities. And if you look to the major livelihood sources, land is one, shifting cultivation is another one, plain land agriculture is another one, forest resource is also, then wage labor. But my presentation will basically confined to how the forest-based livelihood and the tribals have been affected due to COVID-19. COVID-19. As you know, the forest and tribals, they have a different relation. I don't have much relation with the forest, though I am benefited out of it. Without forest, without the benefit of the forest, I cannot live. I know that. But tribal people have a symbiotic relation in anthropology, we say. What it mean? Without forest, they cannot live for a moment, for a day, for a month, for a season. So the customary rules guides their relation with forest. It's the custom that guides. It is not society like me. The management of forest resources are community based. The forest has a both ecological value and economic value. If you look to the economic value, large population, the forest supports the livelihood of large population of tribal and the poor living in the forest. In forest fringe villages also, 50% of income is coming from derived from the forest. It ensures tribal food security, access by all people at all times to enough food for an active and healthy life. What we internationally talk of food security. The tribal society for generations together have been getting this forest. Then it gives household food production and food consumption. I am not producing food in my family. I am depending purely on the market. If there is shortage of the food, I have to go to the market. If you look at the tribal society, the food production and the food consumption both are met from the forest resources. Let us look forest resources in summer, particular season. There is seasonal variation in terms of degree of dependency of the tribal people on forest resources. Let us look the summer season, which has been affected by the COVID-19, started from March and continuing the summer and continuing in the rainy also. So many studies, including international and national government, MOTA, they pointed out, TriFed and Ministry of Tribal Affairs, they pointed out, there are 200 recognized forest producers collected by the tribal people throughout India during the summer season. It's not a small one. In summer, they collect, just I have named few only, wild honey, tamarind, mango, tandu leaf, sal seed, mahua seeds, karanja seeds, neem seeds, mahua flower, jackfruit, many varieties. Those scholars who have worked among the tribal communities, gone through the tribal community, they must have seen the type of dependency of the tribal with the forest. Then use of NTF, if you look how the tribal people are depending on NTF. And for household subsistence, maintenance of cultural tradition, sarna is directly linked to forest resources. Then spiritual fulfillment, physical and emotional well-being, cooking, then animal feed and fodder, health treatment, income, and later on I have quantified the dependency, degree of dependency, then income and many aspects. Let us look at seasonality of NTFs available in tribal area. If you look to the different types of NTFs and the period of availability, we see fodder is available to them throughout the year from the forest. If we are keeping cows and buffaloes in town area, we are purchasing from the markets, but it is freely available to them. Fruits, November to May. These are the dominant period of the year when the fruits are available or the types of NTPs are available and tribals are depending. Vegetables, January to October. Oil seeds, March to August. Ethno medicines, February to March and August to October. This is the peak period when that period when the NTPs are available. Toothbrush throughout the year. Mahua flower, March to May. I have just named few one only, but if you see there is a seasonal. I was working in a project by Ford Foundation in '97 when I joined Navakrishna Chaudhary Center for Development Studies at Bhubaneswar. There it was a 2 years project. I was with a team. We were accounting, weekly accounting what we have collected, what we have sold, and what we have consumed. That was a project of that nature. That concluded that quite good number of varieties of NTFs, maybe flower, maybe fruits, maybe oil, maybe leaves, maybe medicinal plant, maybe mushroom, maybe varieties of NTFs they used to collect and depend and also sell in the market. If you look to the income composition of a tribal household, from which source, how much income is coming. Let us look to the NTAPs and the income. We see that Mahua, it is very seasonal. If it is available for a particular period, within 15 to 20 or 1 month, max, not even 1 month, 15, 20 days, if the tribal are engaged in Mahua collection, definitely they get a sizable income throughout for the year. So from Mahua, they get 10.22% of the total income. Fodder, 8.15%, fuel, 11.40%, cottage industry, 32.26%. The sal leaf and siali plant you find in Jharkhand and Mayurbhanj, Kendusar, these are the areas where the sal and siali. Siali is in South Odisha, sal is in North Odisha. So large cultivation, all these are coming under the cottage industry. Then toothbrush, दातुन जो हम कहते हैं, 12.55% of the total income comes from that. If you go to in a railway track of this central India, you will find in all stations you will find the dantun, and all these are procured from the interior region of the tribal area. Tribals used to collect and they used to sell. Ethno medicine only 2.88%. Oil seed 6.75% of the total income. Vegetables 4.31% of the total income. Then fruits 11.48% of the total income. Let us look another data. Sources of income contribution to tribal household economy in percentage. Timber contributes 10.83%, wage labor 7.83%, livestock 8.86%, NTAP 25.11%. It varies from region to region. I agree to many of you that this is not uniform in Central India or Northeast India. Some region might be very rich in NTAP and some region might be not that. If you go to Gurumeshani, Badam part of the Odisha Mayurvanj district, you may not find much NTAP. If you go to Kandhamal district, you will find much NTAP. If you go to Koraput district, Malkanagiri district, you will find NTAP, quite rich. If you go to Chhattisgarh interior pocket, you will find NTAP. So agriculture contributes 32.24%. Agriculture not necessarily our plainland agriculture, highland agriculture, and shifting cultivation agriculture that contributes. Then business 8.72% and others 4.63%. This shows the NTAP plays a very major role in tribal income basket, and there are other sources which also contributes to the income basket, but where the NTAP, livestock, then timber, all these are very important. All these are related to forest resources. Let us come to Kendulip. One example. Kendulip is considered the green gold of India, green gold, and quite huge revenue government of India gets and government of state government, Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Jharkhand, they used to get. And tribals are engaged in plucking, starting from plucking to binding. They are engaged. It starts from 15th May to October end. Plucking period is very less, but subsequent processing is very high. Contribution to Kendulip to the total revenue generated out of forest produces is quite significant. Not only significant to household, tribal house, but also to the state exchequer. State exchequer is increasing day by day. If you look to the Kendulip division of Odisha, state government forest department, you will find. Tribal people are involved in Kendulip collection, drying, storage, processing, binding, and bagging. All these activities are engaged, they are engaged, and from all these activities they are generating money and income. I did a study from the supported by the forest department Kendulip division. We did a study in Western Odisha. We covered 320 Kendulip binders, from whom 50.31% were the tribals. 50% were the tribals, and they were engaged starting from collection to the binding. So this shows Kendulip, you look to the Kendulip, you look to the timber, you look to the sal seed, all these nationalized products have the potentiality for feeding tribal population. So let us, and there are many state agencies engaged in NTP collection. Just I will highlight because it has a link with the consequent situation of the COVID. We have recent one, the Ban Dhan Vikas Kendras, we have Ormas, we have Utkal Forest Products, we have tribal cooperatives, marketing federation in India, we have LAMPS, we have Tribal Development Cooperative Corporation, TDCG, we have many government agencies, including Panchayat. They are engaged at different levels for different purposes of NTP collection, pricing, and disposal. Then specific impact of COVID-19 on forest-based issues. This is the highlight of your presentation, and I know that many listeners, policymakers, students, researchers, they are interested to listen this. This is important. I admit from the very beginning that I have not done any fieldwork for this purpose because it is not possible. But I did 26 research projects in Odisha on different issues like land, forest, health, livelihood, mining, displacement, many issues I have done. That really helped me to understand tribal communities and their livelihood resources. Timely collection of forest resources and TAPs could not be possible in summer and rainy season. This is very important. If you look to the Kendulip, it is available. If you look to the Mahua, it is available for a particular period, not stretching of 3 months, 4 months like this. 15 days, 20 days, or maximum 1 month. During that period, if you are unable to, you can.
Data screens.
Only one or two slides are there. Let me complete. Then disposal of NTAPs is also helped at the doorstep. Weekly hard, government agencies level, because all these government agencies were not functioning during this COVID period. They are not functioning at all. It is very difficult for them to function. So since all were closed due to the lockdown, cash income from the sale, because tribal people, you know, they need ready-made cash for certain purpose. So they take the NTBs and dispose it in the weekly market, and they get some money and they purchase all other requirements. So cash income from this sale was not possible during this period. Government collection centers were almost closed or defunct to say. Value addition of products could not be made since congregation were not allowed. Role of WSSG. Role of WSSG in making adding values to the NTAP. That was not possible during this period. Export of forest products could not be made within the nation and outside, supplying to outside countries. And the value-added products, member products, leaf products, many products were there. Tribal used to produce sabai grass, used to produce, and they have a high demand in the international market. That could not be possible during this period. And Ban Dhan Vikas Kendras almost defunct or not working. If look to in continuation to that, if we see animal poaching and supply of narcotics in tribal region, that became few from the reports by the civil society throughout India. I think many civil societies have reported some of these ground reality through their civil organizations. So I was going through that also, and we have also seen in the news media that these might be few animal poaching and supply of narcotic, and many times tribal people are unnecessary book, because it is very easy for machinery to blame to the tribal people many times. Then Gram Sabha was purely engaged in the issue of COVID-19. So the FRA issue, land settlement issues, land diversion for other purposes, and other issues also that could not be effectively met. Income from NTAP during March to June almost reduced by 70%. Many civil societies they have studied, they have given this figure. I'm taking their figure. Since there were marginal collection and no buyers to purchase tribal areas due to products like mahua, karanja seeds, and tamarind. Truckers were not moving into the tribal area. Transport was very important. If it cannot be transported, nobody will come forward. Then the minimum support price, government increased the minimum support price of 49 products. I'm giving one example under the Pradhan Mantri Ban Dhan Yojana. I'm giving one example. Mahua, though government told that it will be sold in 30 rupees per kg, but in the roadside villages, it was sold in 25 per kg in Suakati, Kendujhar district of Odisha. So examples are there. So whole point to tell that minimum support price, though government realized and increased for 14 products, but it could not be realized, it could not be benefited to the tribal people because of this COVID situation. Then primary procurement agencies of TriFed to facilitate the implementation of MSP either not constituted or non-functional. Loss from forest resources took them a year back, because tribal people largely depend on forest seasonally, and this season is very important, particularly summer season is very important to get major NTAPs, which back, since nature-based economy cannot be revived. For me, for example, if I am losing this job, I can get another job. But for tribal people, largely, all 100% tribals are not migrating. Even if some tribal people are migrated at their destination, they were shunted out. Go back to your origin. So they came back. That was a source of income. That could not be, no more that could be. So this situation took them a year back. So with this, I feel it is immense, it is invisible, because many times we talk of the mainstream society, urban society, capital society, affluent society, and I am very much thankful to the BD Autonomous College principal and the entire team, Dr. Sagarika Mishra, and the entire team of the departments who are engaged in this, making it successful to find a reality one. Thank you, sir. Thank you. मैडम दिखाओ मैडम पंडा साहब मैडम से लिंक କରୁଛନ୍ତି ଏବେ
Thank you very much, sir, for your informative deliberation. Now we request to Professor Premananda Panda for delivering his speech. Professor Premananda Panda, sir, please. Sir, sir, you are audible. Please deliver your speech. Premananda, sir.
Am I audible? You first
Yes,
tell
yes,
me.
sir. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. You are audible. Please.
You are muted by host.
I am muted by the host.
No,
You
no, no.
unmute that.
No.
I have
Very good, very
unmuted
good.
you, sir.
No,
Okay.
no,
You
sir,
can
you are
speak
audible.
now.
Now,
Now you are
Yeah.
audible.
okay, thank you very much. So we are not techno experts, so the techno dependency is more with us. So there is some problem. Anyway, I will switch over. I, I, I think I am audible now. Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yes,
Yes,
sir.
sir. You
Yes,
are
sir.
audible.
You are.
You're right.
Yes, sir.
No, whether my voice is audible or not, tell me.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Hello.
Yes, sir. You are audible.
Ah, you are audible, but am I audible to you?
Yes, sir. Your voice is audible.
Yeah,
Please,
you are
sir,
audible.
speak.
Hello. Tell me whether I am audible to you. Are you listening me?
Sir, sir, ଶୁଭା ଯାଉଛି ଆପଣ କୁହନ୍ତୁ।
Okay, fine.
हेलो
ए ऑडिबल आउथरे करथिल त काहे से करथिले
ऑडिबल होउची कि नहीं होउची अच्छा हां अच्छा सर को होउची क्लास में बेताले हाउ मु सही कथा कहली मु वीडियो रो आडे जाउची तमे एपटे बस टिके ना को मु कहली सर को ए जो ठीक अछि मु कहूची हां
Hello? Yeah, it's audible now? Hello?
Yes, 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 sir.
हां सुपुची तमे को
Wait, good. Okay. Anyway, now since my student Dr. Nilakanta Panigrahi has already spoken. Since Dr. Nilakanta Panigrahi has already spoken on hello.
जहाँ कहले तको ये रिबाउंड ही के
I will not repeat those things. I will switch over directly to the other dimensions. Now the problem lies. Okay. So we need to understand what is the livelihood, right? Now, since it is referring to the impact of a COVID-19 pandemic on the lifestyle of the people, call kar dele ka.
हेलो
अब तो कहीं कॉल कर a livelihood we mean the processes whereby people obtain necessities of life. Exactly what we mean by necessities of life or varies from one society to another. From among the tribals, we have seen that their economy is a mixed one, starting from the hunting, gathering, collection to that of settled agriculture. The the settled agriculture and shifting cultivation have been the sources of their livelihood. Livelihood of the tribals are of varieties. You cannot think of a single sources of income for them. It is already seen from various studies that around 30% of their income comes from the forest through collection, through the cultivation, and also we have seen because of the crisis, they became the instrument to cut the wood, and you might have seen woodlogs are being taken from the forest villages to the nearby urban centers where they sell it. Livelihood as such includes the cultural dimension. Livelihood includes the cultural dimension and as well as the material dimension that involves not only simple satisfaction of the material needs. Is it audible? Hello. Since livelihood is not simple satisfaction of the material goods or meeting the material needs, it also involves the satisfaction of a person's emotion, spiritual needs, intellectual needs, and skill needs. Livelihood best expresses the idea of individual and groups striving to make living, attempting to meet their various consumption and economic necessities, also referring to the coping with uncertainties. If it is referring to coping with uncertainties, obviously COVID-19 is one among the uncertainties that has contributed to the loss of their income. The resources are suddenly shrinked. They have been asked to quit the area. But then most of the tribal people do not go to urban centers to sell their labor. Compared to non-tribals, the tribals have not figured in the labor group as such more than the non-tribals. So the tribals who are in the forest area, if there is a distress, for example, if mining operation has gone in to the resources such as the forest area, the way the forest is denuded, it is reducing the biodiversity of the people. So thereby, their necessities have been declined drastically. If you look at this, in a sense, if you try to understand how the livelihood is moving around their own identities, you can think of their kinship, you can think of their ethnicity, religion, necessity, nationality, and social classes. But then when you try to see the households, if a simple household of a tribal, if you enter into the household, you will not get much material goods. The simple technology is existing with them. The household utilizes these many assets and most of the productive assets. Their labor itself is a form of capital. To be very frank, to get the development projects such as highway roads, sanctuaries, mining, industries of different kinds, defense projects, say SEZs, airports, shipyards, railway network, establishment of cities and colonies, factories, hospitals, educational institutes, all these are taking certain areas.
check karo. Hello.
Yeah, it's audible now.
Yes. Okay, sir.
It's audible now.
Okay. Aditya sir unda. Tame edi kon kemo.
Now it's time to listen a deliberation from a dynamic sociologist who is our beloved Dr. Aditya Kesari Misra sir. Dr. Aditya Kesari Misra is the assistant professor at Department of Sociology, Central University of Odisha, Koraput. His research interest includes sociological theories, sociology of NGOs, and sociology of tribal society. He has also authored 4 books, main current in development studies, social capital and biodiversity, communities, connection and conservation, agriculture, technology and globalization, and contemporary gender discourse, issues and contestation. The part that apart, he has published 33 research papers in various national and international journals. He has also published 15 book chapters and 13 reviews. There are more than 100 seminars and conference presentations to his credit. He has also written several editorial columns in leading national and regional English and Odia newspapers. Today, he will deliver his address on When Rich Infect Poor, Engaging COVID-19 in Tribal Livelihood. Thus, as a dynamic teacher, researcher, writer, and a columnist, I feel privileged to invite Dr. Aditya Kesari Misra to deliver his address in this August virtual gathering. Dr. Aditya Kesari Misra, sir, please.
Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible. Please
Okay.
continue. Thank you.
Okay. Since we all are depending upon the network, and certain times the networks used to used to not to allow us to go ahead, and that has happened today. So, and that is not in our hand. Okay. Very good afternoon to all present here, and thank you, Tamasha, for your spicy introduction. I think I have to take an antibiotic tonight to digest it. Esteemed Dr. Gopal Haldar, the principal of Vikram Dev Autonomous College, esteemed my co-delegates, Professor Pramananda Panda, Dr. Nilakantha Panigrahi, Dr. Devendra Bishwal, Dr. B.K. Srinivas, and Dr. Sagarika Mishra, the convener of this national webinar. Then members of academic and administration of Vikram Dev Autonomous College, the vibrant participants I witnessed, there are more than 260 participants. It signifies the importance of this particular event. Then the energetic, compeers like Durga and Tamasha, ladies and gentlemen. At the outset, I honestly extend my gratitude to Vikram Dev Autonomous College, especially to Dr. Gopal Haldar and Dr. Sagarika Mishra and her entire team for inviting me to this national webinar. I feel always happy to come to this college for any academic activity, not because of my personal affinity, but because of the discipline that it has been maintaining since long time, whose credit, of course, goes to all the members of the academic community of this particular college. That apart, Vikram Dev College, the citadel of learning in southern Odisha, stands for its own glory and pride. This is one of the few colleges, not only in southern Odisha, but also in the entire state, which is academically very vibrant. In current times, when most of the universities and colleges are thinking to act, but this college is very actively acting to think. The today's initiative is the classic example. Again, I congratulate the principal, Dr. Gopal Haldar, and Dr. Sagarika Mishra, the convener of the webinar, for selecting very important and interesting theme of the today's national webinar, that is the impact of COVID-19 on tribal livelihood, which I consider the need of the hour. Coming to today's deliberation, I feel little nervous because of the presence of very dynamic and scholarly anthropologists. In fact, I am surrounded by 4 leading anthropologists where I am the only sociologist. But at the same time, I am extremely confident because of the theme, which is always close to my heart, that has been selected for today's webinar. As mentioned by Tamasha, the title of my deliberation is When Rich Infects Poor, Engaging with COVID-19 and Tribal Livelihood. The leitmotif of my deliberation is to engage with the COVID-19 and the poor tribals. My teachers like delegates, Professor Premananda Pandasar and Dr. Nilakanda Pandasar have made my task easy. They have already mentioned a conceptual as well as the practical dimension to the framework of tribal livelihood. I will rather focus on the problematic dimension of COVID-19, tribals and livelihood. The structure of my presentation is based on 5 folds. First, I will be focusing on the carriers of virus, where rich infects the poor. The second, the spread of virus, the global nature of COVID-19. Third, the structure of tribal livelihood, where I will be presenting a scholastic framework. Then fourth, dilemmas of tribal livelihood system, where I will be highlighting about some of the problematic dimensions of the tribal livelihood in the context of COVID-19. And finally, some of the fair responses of tribal livelihood system. Now, it's very interesting to understand the carriers of virus. I remember, and you will certainly agree with me, China is always in news, be it in food or be it in fun. I remember once the Bollywood item song Super Girl from China, composed by singer-director Kanika Kapoor, one of the heartthrob singers of our times, created a sensational hit in the Indian entertainment landscape. Now, the super virus from China. I mean, there was a time when the Bollywood was extremely passionate towards the super girl from China. Now, there is the super virus from China. If not, the super girl from China has entirely subjugated the world, including India. Keeping in view the super spread of this super virus, the national government declared a super surgical shutdown or lockdown with the overt objective of controlling the movement. It's very interesting to understand here, okay? The government declared a super surgical shutdown or lockdown with the overt objective of controlling the movement and spread of coronavirus disease 2019 or COVID-19. It's very interesting to observe the covert objective of the unplanned surgical shutdown. What is this covert objective? Now, the covert objective is to structure or restructure the health infrastructure, which, if not I, you will certainly agree with me, has been neglected by our governance structure since the very beginning of our independence. The decision of the surgical shutdown has locked down, if not only the fate of countless poor tribals, but crores of migrants whose tragedy has drawn the attention of policymakers worldwide. The impact on tribals is very sorrowful. Now, question arises, who has brought this virus to India? Has it entered into India automatically? Certainly, the answer will be a big no. Then, who is responsible? Who should be blamed? Is it the government? Or is it the poor migrants? Or is it the poor tribals? It is a matter of fact that some of the people with passport, quote unquote, people with passports, as rightly conceptualized by one of the greatest sociologists in contemporary India, he is none other than Dipankar Gupta, okay, where he mentions that this virus has come because of the people with passports. So in that particular context, let me put this particular argument in a particular fashion, that it is a matter of fact that some of the people with passports, if not migrants with miseries or tribals with tribulations, are the carriers of COVID-19 in India. In fact, the rich foreign nationals or foreign travelers or the rich people with passports are the carriers of this alien virus who have first mercilessly are the carriers of, who have first mercilessly infected the urban migrants, and now the attack is on the poor ruralites or tribals. This justifies my title when I claim that when rich infects poor. Now, the second aspect of my the deliberation, that is the spread of virus. As I mentioned, this alien virus from China has been gradually entering into the native communities after capturing the urban and metro landscapes of several countries. As we all witness, the COVID-19 has affected most of the leading cities of numerous countries across the world. Now, the virus has started entering into the poor native communities or the tribal communities, which is of worrisome for most of the states and national governments. The matter became global news soon after the death of a 15-year-old boy from Yanomami tribe in the remote Amazon forest in Brazil. Thereafter, several native communities are being reported infected by this alien Chinese virus worldwide. The case of India is not an exception. Be it Bastar of Chhattisgarh or Koraput of Odisha, the virus is exacerbating vulnerabilities among these native communities. As COVID-19 infected cases spread across India, the native tribal communities in the remote areas, especially in and around hills and forests, are compelled to fear ghosts. As you know, these communities have been struggling because of the impact of numerous development and shadow development projects in the name of industrialization-induced deforestation, land encroachment, biowaste movement, and among others. The current foreign origin COVID-19 pandemic is yet another biggest threat to their survival. This pandemic has been wiping out the lives and livelihoods of these gullible tribal communities. Now, I will be focusing on what exactly, the tribal livelihood system. If you see the trajectory of tribal livelihood system, there is a change altogether, and that task has already been, done by my previous scholars. So I'm not focusing on that particular aspects. Rather, I will be providing a scholastic standpoint on what constitute, the framework of tribal livelihood system. Now, the tribal livelihood system among the tribal population is very, underprivileged in nature, unlike, the urbanites. From a scholastic point of view, the livelihood system in tribal societies can be broadly structured into two categories. First, nature or community supported livelihood system. Second, state supported livelihood system. Then what is this nature or community supported livelihood system? The nature or community supported livelihood system is based on productive actions and interactions of the individuals or households on the one hand, and the available stock of resources on the other hand, okay, that resources constitute the social, economic, or financial, political, and natural, okay, and around the community on the other, okay. Then, as you know, tribals mostly depend upon daily wage labor and forest-based products for their day-to-day living conditions. On the other hand, the state-supported livelihood system is based on various development-induced governmental policies and programs, which are meant for the welfare of the weaker sections like tribals at the grassroots level. This state-supported livelihood system is very, symbolic in nature. The reason is that the plight of tribals, even after 7 decades of India's independence, clearly sounds the concern and commitment of the state-supported livelihood support system for the tribals. It can be emphatically mentioned that the prolonged lockdowns, shutdowns, and containment zones because of COVID-19 have put life and livelihood of these tribals or tribal people in sorrows and sufferings. The poor people or the poor native people have become wageless in nature. There is also the case of reverse migration to their native place, those who had gone to other places for jobs prior to COVID-19. That apart, weekly market is considered as the heart of economic activities among tribals. It is seen that tribals bring different agricultural and forest produce to this weekly market for sale or exchange to get other essential items. Various studies have observed that these weekly markets in tribal areas are not only considered as the places that execute economic activities, but also considered as the places that execute social and cultural performances. However, with strong emphasis on social or physical distancing to avoid the infection of COVID-19, there is immediate shutting down of these weekly markets, which have certainly seized the economic avenues of the local tribal communities. In this context, I would like to, reorient my understanding on livelihood framework. The reason for revisiting the livelihood framework is to better understand the current pattern of livelihood among tribals and to provide a suggestive framework for tribal livelihood. If I'm not wrong, perhaps the seminal figures of this particular discourse of livelihood system is none other than, Robert Chambers. Robert Chambers, along with his colleague, Gordon Conway, in the year 1992, have defined livelihood, which has been, later adopted by DFID, Department for International, Development, in terms of three things. First, the capabilities. Second, the assets. And third, the activities that are required for a means of living. Now, the three dimensions of livelihood, namely capabilities, assets, and activities, are in tremendous risk because of COVID-19. I think this is a fact altogether, and you have to, whether you accept it or whether you reject it, this is a fact altogether. Okay, the capabilities, the assets, and the activities of the poor tribals are in tremendous risk. Now, what I will do, I would like to raise certain pertinent questions in the last part of my deliberation. And the questions are very significant, because if you are so serious to restructure the livelihood pattern of the poor tribals, obviously one has to focus on these questions. And what are these questions? I have formulated certain questions, and that questions will certainly give you some idea in restructuring the poor tribal livelihood structure. First, how can we improve the capabilities of the poor tribals during and after COVID-19? Second, what could be the appropriate framework by which we can improve the capability of the poor tribals? Third, what are the dimensions on which we need to focus while developing the capability among tribals after COVID-19? Four, how can we enhance the assets of the poor tribals? Five, how can we restore the suspended activities undertaken by tribals due to COVID-19? Six, what could be the socio-economic package by which we can restore the paralyzed state of tribal economy to a possible state of tribal economy? And seventh, how can the poor tribals recover from these stresses and shocks because of COVID-19? Because, as you know very well, tribals are in tremendous shocks and pressures. Now, question arises again, shall we leave these problems to the poor tribals as it is? Or shall we develop some possibilities by which the risk situation of tribal livelihood system can be restored? Thus, the question arises, what could be the fair response in protecting their livelihood issues? Because these are the fair responses which will transform the situation of tribals. These fair responses deal with sets of actions and sets of actors. Mind it, actions and actors. Now, who are these actors and what are their actions. As a learner of development studies or sociology of development, I will end the deliberation by proposing certain possible answers. I know, I mean, it will be very effective if I will propose the answer after conducting a primary study. That I know very well. But this is not the time, my friends, to visit the field because the field is in risk. Okay. However, as a student of development studies, as a learner of development studies, I mean, while scanning the literature from different sources, for example, starting from newspaper to magazine, for example, okay, I have come out with some sort of possible solution, possible fair responses for tribal livelihood system. The first, there is the immediate necessity of conducting minor projects for understanding the tribal livelihood issues confronted by the poor tribals. The higher education institutions in terms of universities, research institutes, and colleges should come out in undertaking these activities or these tasks. Second, there is the necessity of methodological innovation. It's very interesting. Okay, what is this methodological innovations, or why there is the methodological innovations? When the situation is considered as a risk situation, because the entire world is in a risk situation and tribals are not exception. Okay, so when the situation is considered as a risk situation because of the spread of COVID-19, it is very difficult on the part of the researcher to study the risk situation with old methods. We have to adopt certain new methods in understanding the risk realities confronted by the poor tribals. It should be more action-oriented, and whatever the research you are going to conduct with some sort of methodological innovation, okay, that research should be action-oriented or problem-solving in nature. Now, third, the private companies, the industries, or the IT companies should enlarge their scope of corporate social responsibilities or corporate social responsibility activities. They need to conduct certain reskilling or upskilling activities for the poor tribals. They need to also develop certain job generation activities at the grassroots level in tribal areas. Then fourth, the state-supported welfare schemes, like for example, as you know very well, MGNRJ or OTEL, Odisha Tribal, Empowerment and Livelihood Program, for example, need to be implemented with sustained budgetary allocation. And here, I can tell you, the grassroots leader, in the grassroots political leader, for example, the Sarpanch needs to be empowered because he is the agent of the government who knows better than the higher of political leaders. Since the Sarpanch is one among one among the tribal areas. Then last, the fifth one, the community-based organizations or non-governmental organizations which are working under the rubric of civil society should come forward in fulfilling the gap of communication and delivery of essential items to the tribal communities. They need to play an advocacy role during and after COVID-19. Since they are closely working with the people, they need to highlight the plight of tribals with appropriate suggestive framework to the government. And to conclude, I will mention just a couple of sentences to complete my deliberation today. Considering tribals' sorrows and sufferings, it is high time to prepare an action plan or a roadmap in restructuring the livelihood system of the poor tribals. I will end the paper with one of the quotations from Nuragam, the chair of the United Nations Permanent Forum on Indigenous Issues, where she has emphatically mentioned that the states need, I quote, to ensure that indigenous peoples are informed, protected, and prioritized during the COVID-19 pandemic, I unquote. This message should be practiced in letter and spirit if we want to really see the continuity of this great community, which has been, continuing in and around the hills and forests since a long time. Thank you, Vikram Dev Autonomous College, for giving me this opportunity to share some of my thoughts in this August virtual gathering. And I thank all the virtual participants for their patient hearing. And at last, I thank Dr. Gopal Haldar, the principal of Vikram Dev Autonomous College, and Dr. Sagarika Mishra, the convener of this national webinar. Thank you very much. Over to the organizers.
Thank you so much, Aditya sir, for your great inputs. It was truly a fruitful session by you. Now we are having with us the last speaker of today's session, a very young and energetic anthropologist, Dr. B.K. Srinivas sir. After completion of his academic career from Hyderabad Central University, he has started his professional career as an assistant professor at Department of Anthropology, Central University of Odisha, Koraput. His research area includes sociocultural anthropology, development anthropology, tribal studies, and archaeological anthropology. He has also a number of publications to his credit. He has also presented a number of papers in various reputed national and international forums. Now it's my honor to request Dr. Srinivas sir to address the said webinar on issue and concerns of COVID-19 among tribal communities. Sir, please.
So, a very good evening to all of you. Am I audible, Durga?
Yes, sir, you are audible, sir. Yes, sir.
So, very
Continue,
good
sir.
evening to all the participants. And first of all, I would like to thank the Vikram Dev College authorities and the convener of this webinar for giving me opportunity to share some of my views on the issues and concerns of COVID-19 on tribal communities. As you know that uh, being a last speaker, it is very difficult to avoid reputations. After listening to my colleague Aditya Mishra, the aggressive speech, and issues, and of course, there was a network problem. His idea on and it's very difficult to justify myself, but anyhow, a few of the issues. The title of my speech will be on issues and concerns on COVID-19 among communities. Because lack of time, I just go briefly. There are 7 to 8 issues which I would like to raise. Of course, conclude and possible solutions. So, as you know, every person on the earth has been affected in some way by this, and lockdown has an uneven impact on the society characterized by vast inequalities. Adverse effects of the lockdown on the countries, marginalized communities, are major concern. And in this way, and indigenous people are nowhere left. In the initial phase, when the pandemic outbreak, there isolated people which were considered safer and secure. But as the time passes, it has penetrated into interior pockets also. Yes. And
your voice is not clearly audible. Can
yes, yes. It is penetrated into interior pockets also, and they are in vulnerable condition. And coming to my speak, that as you know that tribals, they are around 104 million people in India and they account for 8.6%, and there are 705 and odd groups, and these tribal people are the lowest in the various health indicators and societal indicators. Impacted by COVID-19.
No, sir, your voice is breaking, sir. Kindly check your mic, sir.
Yes, yes, it is. Mic is there, it's on.
Now it's clearly audible, sir. Okay,
yes,
continue,
yes.
sir. Okay.
It's on. Right. The first issue is the health. So health issue, tribal areas suffer from severe shortage of healthcare facilities. And one statistics from Family and Health Welfare and Ministry of Tribal Affairs, there is a statistics which says that the sub-centers, primary health centers and community health centers, the required sub-centers are 31,273 and the present are 28,200 and shortfall are 6,503. Likewise, similarly, PHCs are, they are 1,240 PHCs are in a shortfall, and similarly, community health centers are 273 community health centers are in a shortfall. So in this situation, it is very difficult to means cope with this. Uh, and the first and foremost priority of tribals is traditional medicine. So even though the PHCs are there, CHCs are there, allopathic medicine is there, first their priority is, their approach is the traditional medicine. So it has drastically impacted because of the area and movement restrictions after COVID-19 outbreak. So when the practitioners in anthropology looked at the traditional practitioners, the specialists like a shamanist, the religious specialist, the priest, the magico-religious practitioners, the who used to heal and treat,
Government workers
so their practices were
making tribals
stalled
less
because
available.
various restrictions due to law and order problem and spread of to contain the spread of COVID-19. So they are not practicing, and the most common diseases apart from the COVID-19 is approaching and not practicing. Even though process medicines from the different areas is not possible. So it has drastically impacted and uh, they look health as a system which is the society culture which are around. In this way, their health was, the traditional medicine was drastically impacted. The practice was not there. The people are not doing, and mean medicine is, you know, the PCs and other things are there nearby places. People are not approaching the health centers and PCs because of the fear and because uh, the important program that government program is immunization program. The people are by their ways to the immunization. We need to look into it. It is a major concern. Disabled. And if you look into the another aspects, that livelihood, most of the speakers they have spoken on, but I would like to know, am I audible?
Sir, your voice is continuously breaking, sir. I think you should keep your mic a little distance from your mouth.
Yes, yes, I'm keeping very close to the mic.
Yeah, yeah. Okay, sir. Now it's clearly audible, sir. Continue.
Yes. So if you come to the livelihood aspects, their livelihood was completely means shattered because of this lockdown. So there are wide varieties of livelihood because tribal economy and their livelihood is subsistence economy. We can say that because it is whatever they get, they will consume. So there is a no concept of saving and keeping for future use. In this way, whatever they collect, whatever they have, whatever they earn, they will consume for a little time. So in this way, whatever the collections are there, they have means they are about they completed all their collections. In this way, it was drastically impacted on livelihood, especially minor forest produce. In fact, the different livelihood options like wage laborers, the agricultural laborers, the construction workers, they all lose their opportunity because of the pandemic outbreak. And Coming to the minor forest production, the minor forest production is one of the important what we phenomena in their life. Around 60% of their annual collections, which take place from April to June, uh, this period was unfortunately coincides with the lockdown period. So it drastically impact the collection of minor forest produce. And if at all, whatever the collections are there, the collections, the trading chain has broken. The people, the traders are not coming and they are not purchasing. And even though if they purchase with very low prices, so from all the ways they are sandwiches and cornered. So the livelihood system is also the broken. And coming to the pastoral communities, particularly vulnerable tribals, their issues also very important because when the area restrictions are started, the people they are not freely moving from one place to another place. The issues from different tribal groups, from newspapers and other clippings, we have heard that Baigas from Madhya Pradesh, and Cones from Odisha reported problem accessing value of these. Then another important aspect is tenurial insecurity. The Forest Acts recognize the injustice faced by the community, but provides community forest rights and individual forest rights. But few recordings of the forest rights, the recordings, surveyors going recording the rights, this was not done. So it was this they have lose their tenurial insecurity is another important issue we can say. And restrictions of movement in national parks and sanctuaries is also another important problem. Around according to Ministry of Forest and Environment, 3 to 4 million of people are living in and around what is called sanctuaries and national parks where area restrictions are there. The people were collecting their basic resources, natural resources. So this was curtailed. So this also another important what we called pressure on them. Then forest land diversion is also another important uh, according to the Forest Rights Act, Gram Sabha has to take resolution. Then only any action will be taken on land. Social party and finishing the areas. So we also curtailed their access, and we checked their access to the and trespasses. Uh, all these things has impacted, and forest land is slowly diverted, and it was diverted to the violation of Forest Rights Act, and it was directed to mining activities and other things. This is another important issue. Then, this is another important aspect that the compensatory afforestation is also the people are in the name of forestation planting the trees, and these issues were reported from various states like Chhattisgarh, Odisha, Maharashtra, and Jharkhand also. The plantation works were done without the concept of Gram Sabha. And environmental impact assessment is another important. Social impact assessment and environmental impact assessment. They were every what we call developmental project, either it is a dam or industry, they have to take environmental impact assessment study has to be done. But this was this overseen. This was not properly taken care. Environmental impact assessment, and we call that it was pushing. It is in a post facto environmental. So when the project started, after starting and its impact started, then post facto was taken without consent of Gram Sabha and other things. And another important change which have seen among them is behavioral change. uh, it was published in one of the paper that clinical nursing by uh, it says that the tribals have means behavioral changes have been seen among tribals, and a kind of a threat perception, a threat, emotional and risk perception is also very important. And so due to social organizations, everything will change due to this pandemic. Uh, negative perspective. Uh, then we can understand their dialogue. So these behavioral changes they have means what we call one paper. In fact, a ghosh from a tribe called Kani from Arunachal Pradesh. They have adopted resilience strategies to cope up the pandemic, and where they have reviewed the ancient what is called indigenous lockdown system or revival of rituals. So in this, because it is since ages they are following it. Whenever there is a pandemic, they practice, they completely to ward the evil effects. They pray, they perform pujas to ward. Likewise, they lockdown is they barricade their villages and they do not allow any strangers or outsiders to their villages, and they themselves do not go outside. So this is, but it is for short times, and this pandemic has a longer, and we do not know. It is uncertain and an event how long it will go and when it is event. So this lockdown has a lot of impacts on tribals. These are the few of the issues, and finally, one important issue is that the evictions have conflict in many areas. We have seen that in Odisha also some cases that in conflict indigenous people and the deportation and taking place in areas. If we understand some of the nuances, it may help policymakers, administrators to mitigate the impact of the COVID-19, and urgent action is needed in this regard. And indigenous people are known to survive historical adversities, demonstrating resourcefulness and resilience in adversities. But despite the marginalization of the indigenous people in countries and in our, especially India, COVID-19 response, indigenous communities are instituting their own measures in the presence of universities to manage not but in the needs born out of poverty, housing, and food insecurities. So in this way, we can see different areas which we need major concerning areas, and some of the important suggestions that I drawn based on some of the need a urgent COVID cell by Ministry of Tribal Affairs and Government to look into the issues of problems of tribals, and the central government to be coordinate with the governments in relief to the tribal communities, especially particularly vulnerable tribal groups, nomadics, and what we call nomadic, and effective implementation of Forest Right Act and must be recognized and into a helpful practice. That's all from my side, and thank you for the. Thank you.
Thank you so much, sir. Thank you, Srinivas, sir, for your deliberation. Um, now, as you all know, all the three deliberations are over. The webinar has three major deliberation and other two deliberations by other two delegates are not possible because of certain technical problems. Now the session is open for the discussion. We have received several queries and observations from the chat box. Now I just accumulate all the questions and explain, give two questions to each speaker. The Nilakantha sir, Aditya sir, and Srinivas sir. Now my questions there are some questions to Nilakantha sir, Aditya sir, and Srinivas sir. My some question to Nilakantha sir. Hello, sir. Hello.
It's audible.
Okay. Nilakantha sir, there is two questions majorly. First question is one question that is, I think from one of the participants that I think tribals, especially primitive tribal groups, PVTs, should get special privilege during the COVID-19 pandemic. And he is asking, what's your opinion in this regard? This is the first question to Nilakantha sir. And the second question to Nilakantha sir is, nowadays the government workers making tribals less available. Then what's the opinion of this upon this by Nilakantha sir? Second one is government workers making tribals less available. Then next question to the Aditya sir. There are mainly a lot of questions to Aditya sir, and but the major two questions I am going to ask. That is, the first one is, what could be your opinion? What could be your opinion on food safety measures compared to tribal and non-tribal situation? What could be your opinion on food safety measures compared to tribal and non-tribal situation? This is the first question. Second one is, how can we improve the fundamental necessity of tribal community peoples, especially the southern Odisha tribes, in the agricultural perspective during the pandemic situation? How can we improve the fundamental necessity of tribal community people, especially in the southern Odisha, and what is the agricultural perspectives during this pandemic situation? This is the major two questions to Aditya sir. Then the last question to Srinivas sir. Srinivas sir, the question is, what can be done to protect the rights of tribes and their resources during pandemic scenario? What can be done to protect the rights of tribes and their resources during pandemic scenario? Now I will request Aditya sir to deliver his answers.
Yeah. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Okay. Thank you. I am so happy that questions. There are several questions and several compliments have been mentioned in the chat box. Just think that what is that presentation where there is no question? Because if questions are asked, that means the participants are very attentive, and I think I have reached to their mind. So thank you very much, participants, for raising so many questions. But because of the constraint of time, I think the organizers are restricting their questions. Okay, fine. Now, coming to the answer to these two questions, and frankly speaking, I am so happy for these two questions, because these two questions are not simple questions. It carries several meanings within that particular questions. The point is that, be it you have asked two questions. One is the food security among tribals and non-tribals, and second one is the agriculture. The point is that here I will just mention a generic answer where you will be certainly getting some sort of clue by which we can develop some kind of framework. Now, first of all, we have been experiencing the COVID-19 since more than 5 months or 6 months, for example, because on January 30th, this particular first COVID patient has identified in India. But we did lockdown from March 25th. The point that I'm trying to mention is that now we have crossed almost 6 months. We have not developed an appropriate policy. We have policy for everything. Why do you implement policy? The policy always guides us our course of action. Even though we have crossed 6 months, we at national level or at state level, we have not a clear-cut policy guideline. What to do in which area and what course of action should be followed in one particular situation, for example, there is absence of policy guideline. So my suggestion is that immediately the government should come out with a national policy on COVID-19. I think that should be the first priority, and which will certainly answer almost all questions, almost all issues. Second, you are talking about the agriculture. I know very well, and all of you know also very well, this is the backbone of the development of India, because this is basically an agrarian country altogether. So in this pandemic time, or soon after pandemic, we should go for an agricultural package. There must be some economic package for the development of agriculture in tribal areas as well as in rural areas. Second, third, during my talk, I mentioned the role of sarpanch. Nowadays, we are witnessing the collector power that are being used by the sarpanch, and they are doing wonderful jobs at the grassroots level. So why can't we give some sort of economic power to sarpanch by which they can certainly identify the poor household, and they can also give some sort of economic provision to that particular household. So there must be some sort of economic package or economic power or budgetary allocation to the sarpanch. And the fourth one, I will certainly say that is the role of civil society. Civil society, as you know very well, including, for example, I will also mention the role of media, for example, because that is the lifeline during the COVID-19, for example. We are being connected because of this, for example, because of this media, for example, okay? So this role of media as well as civil society or NGOs, they have to play a bigger role, okay? They have to play an advocacy role, not only in identifying the crisis, not only in identifying the food issue, food security issue, at the same time to suggest some sort of suggested measure to the government. Because it is not always correct that the government will do everything. The point is that the different sectors, this is a crisis, and this is a global crisis. This is not a regional crisis or Koraput crisis or Odisha crisis or Indian crisis. This is a global crisis, and here, in order to tackle this crisis, I think, almost all actors should come together and to provide some sort of framework, some sort of actions, some sort of roles, some sort of advocacy to almost all issues at the grassroots level. Thank you very much. Over to Dr. Sagarika Mishra, the convener.
Okay, thank you so much, sir, for your explanation. Thank you. Srinivas, sir, you are there in the...
Yes, I am there.
Oh, okay, sir. Thank you, sir. There is one question to you.
Yes.
The question is, what can be done to protect the rights of tribes and their resources during pandemic scenario?
Yes. Am I audible, ma'am?
Yes, sir, you are audible.
Yes. So the question which came to me is, what can be done to protect tribal rights and their resources during this pandemic? Right? So starting from, if you look into the Constitution of India, there are a lot of constitutional provisions and safeguards were given to the scheduled tribes. Starting from Article 340 to 360, definition of tribe, to tribal sub-plan, to 5th schedule area, to 6th schedule, to all agency areas. There are a lot of rights which have there in the constitution, and these rights, the proper implementation of rights which can be done. The rights, many things are there which are on pen and paper which are not properly implemented, and particularly the resource utilization, other things. There are two important rights which have given: the forest ROFR we call, or FRA, recognition of forest right, or Forest Rights Act, or PISA, Panchayat Extension Schedule Area Act 1996. These two important acts are there, very powerful acts. And as in the beginning, Neelakanta sir said that tribals, they are in symbiotic relation with forest. Yes, they give and take from the forest, but they destroy the forest. Whatever they drive, and they help in the name of tribes. Many people are exploiting forest resources. So only one thing we can do is the proper implementation of rights which are already there, and strengthening of those things, and proper implementation of these things can help. We can do this during this pandemic. And resources, yeah, of course, they do not need any resources, only conservation resources, like particularly PPTs, they have a plan like CCD, conservation cum development plan baseline studies. This is their what we call population is diminishing in. So government has another plan, right? We have a family planning, but for PVTGs and some tribals, they do not have, they are exempted from that because their number is very few. They are diminishing number. So in this way, their resources are there. They can manage their resources. They can rejuvenate their resources. Only thing is proper implementation and strengthening of what we call PESA Act and FRA Act can help. Right? They will definitely come out from this. They have their own resilience mechanism for this. They have seen many this kind of pandemics before also. Thank you, madam. I think I have addressed. Hello, madam. I think I have addressed the question.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. It's good,
Okay.
sir.
Okay.
Thank you. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you.
Okay. Welcome. Welcome.
Neelakanta sir is there?
Yes, he is there. He is there, but it's showing muted.
Okay, sir. Let it be. So now we'll just finish the question session. Now we are going to the last session of the webinar. Before I proceed ahead, I request all our vibrant participants to kindly fill up and submit the feedback form which is already posted in the chat box. Please fill up your feedback form and just submit it. Now is the time to propose the formal vote of thanks. I request Miss Rajni Padal to propose a formal vote of thanks. Rajni? Rajni, please mute yourself.
170 participants.
Please unmute yourself. Hello, Rajni? Yes, yes, you are audible. Just close your mic to your mouth and just propose the vote of thanks. Srinivas sir?
Yes.
Sir, just please mute your mic. It's okay, sir. Now, Rajni, you just propose the formal vote of thanks.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you. Today's presentation was definitely eye-opener for all of us in getting a wider picture of the present scenario of tribal communities. I, Rajni Padal, on behalf of BD College, especially PG Department of Sociology and Department of Anthropology, and on my own behalf, extend a very heartfelt vote of thanks to all our esteemed delegates and participants for gracing this national webinar. At the outside, I express a deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Neelakanta Panigrahi sir for his intellectual deliberation on the theme of tribal livelihood. It contained historical significance of tribal communities, and current assessment in the context of COVID-19 and tribal livelihood in general. Thank you so much, sir. Thank you very much, Nilakanta sir. And Dr. Aditya Mishra sir did an excellent coverage on the topic, the problematic dimension of COVID-19, with special emphasis on rich infecting the poor and the tribal livelihood system, citing many instances. I express my heartfelt gratitude to Dr. Aditya Mishra sir for his scholarly deliberation. Thank you so much, sir. I also wish to express my gratitude to Dr. B.K. Srinivas sir for his studio deliberation. Thank you so much, Srinivas sir, being with us. Due to some technical issues, we are not connected to Professor Premananda Panda sir and Dr. Devendra Bishwal sir. Thank you so much. It was all very inspiring, informative, and motivating. We all are inspired by your words. Hope you all will again join with us in one next academic endeavors. I express my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Gopal Haldar sir, our principal, for his constant support and encouragement for organizing this event. Thank you so much, sir. I give a deep sense of gratitude to all the faculty, fraternity of our college, especially Dr. Lakshman Patra sir and Gyanaranjan sir for extending their supporting hand for the successful completion of the event. I also give a big thank to non all the faculty, fraternity, non-teaching staff for their support. I also extend a deep sense of gratitude to Mr. Visalji for providing this technical expertise for the smooth functioning of the webinar. I would like to acknowledge and convey my deep sense of gratitude to Dr. Sagarika Misra ma'am, the convener of this webinar, for organizing this webinar in a very short span of time. Last but not the least, I extend a heartfelt thanks and gratitude to all the participants whose presence has added meaning to our webinar. Finally, I thank Durga sir and Tamasa madam for their lively anchoring with this. The webinar has come to an end. Thank you all. Thank you so much. Thank you for your participation, and stay home and stay safe. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Now the session is closed. Thank you. Thank you so much.